Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's Friday. Whew. Deep breath. You made it. You made it to Friday. I'm Jesse Montano. You're going to be joined by Meghan Angley here in just a few moments for another episode of Guerilla Sports Off Ice. As the Avs are staring down a back-to-back in Alberta this weekend, we're going to get you ready for all of it. As always, want to start by reminding you guys about our great friends over at RefiJet. Did you know that you could refinance your auto loan? Well, with RefiJet, they can help you save around $150 every single month, all with just a soft credit pull and zero hassle, lower payments, flexible terms, maybe even some cash back in your pocket from your car's equity. RefiJet does the work. You get the savings. Start today at refijet.com/sports. Again, that's refijet.com/sports. One of the best ways to support our show here is by showing some love to our great partners. refijet.com/sports, the faster, easier way to refinance. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hey, everybody, welcome in. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley Meghan Angley joined. I'm joined by Meghan Angley's Guerilla Sports Off Ice Friday edition. Meghan, how you doing? How's this week?
I'm just happy to be here joining you.
You're just happy to be joining. Big weekend series for the Colorado Eagles. You'll be there both nights, both tonight and tomorrow. And then a back-to-back for the Avs of their own, taking on the Edmonton Oilers and old friend Nazem Kadri in Calgary. Should be a fun weekend of hockey. And Meghan, for myself personally, I just want to start. I wasn't on the show yesterday, but I saw a lot of the comments. I can't tell everybody what it means to me and my family to see the outpouring of love and support. It was not a fun week for my family, but Meghan, I told you the other day, I've been very much looking forward to just getting back to talking some Avs, some hockey with you, and just back to some normalcy. But I just want to let everybody know how I saw the comments from yesterday on an awesome show with you and Corey, and I felt the love for sure. So thank you guys all very much. It means the world to me that you guys would be thinking of me and my family on a week like this. But like I said, I'm ready to be back and just be back talking about stuff. You and I were both at practice today. You're heading up to Loveland after this. Today's going to be a, what did we call it? A hockey brain dump show where, look, the Avs haven't played in 3 days. You and I have gone a week without doing a show together. There's not new developments to talk about necessarily because there hasn't been a lot of games. But there's a lot that you and I want to get to. So I'm just forewarning your ears now. We're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to talk about the power play. We're going to talk about the penalty kill. We're going to talk about the second line, the third line. We're going to talk about what Sam Malinsky has meant to this back end. I know you guys talked a lot about Brock Nelson yesterday. We're going to talk about Brock Nelson and Val Nichushkin. So we've got a lot that we're going to get to. We also are going to hear from Jared Bednar on this pod. That'll be another kind of little launching off point for us. Meghan, do you have anywhere that you just can't wait to start?
No. I could make jokes like Gavin Brindley, but I actually have the least to say about Gavin Brindley other than out of concussion protocol, expected to play this weekend, which is great, but I don't have a lot new to say about Gavin Brindley.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That was going to be, is it Vancouver? Did I just misspeak?
It is Vancouver. I also had to double check the schedule because
that's totally.
So when you were talking with Parker Kelly about his being from there, I kind of associated him with more the Calgary side of Alberta than Edmonton. But maybe he's somewhere in between.
Maybe he's just got room in his heart for all the Alberta.
I think I have room in my heart for all of Alberta.
So yes, no, my mistake, and I'm just verifying it here now because it's Edmonton, then Vancouver. My bad completely. I think maybe subconsciously that conversation.
I think it tricked you into thinking that because that's That's what confused me a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's all Parker Kelly's fault.
And it's all Parker Kelly's fault. No, we don't have to get fully into it. We'll save it for the end of the show. Parker Kelly moved way up in my book today for 100% non-hockey related reasons. There's visual clues on this show right now. That
he was already really high, but I told Jesse, like, when he's number one in the pyramid, I don't even think you're going to complain.
No, I'm not. Parker Kelly, like I said, moved way up in my book today. So yes, my bad. Off the top, I said Edmonton and Calgary. It is Edmonton, then Vancouver. And are Calgary and Vancouver not both just struggle bus West Coast Canadian teams? Is it not basically the same? Not from a city standpoint at all.
No, I actually have never been to either, so I couldn't speak to it. But now I'm trying to think critically about the construction of the teams. And you know what? We're not going down this rabbit hole because we've got a rabbit hole.
I was going to say
here in Colorado.
We've got several different rabbit holes. Megan, I'm looking at the standings right here. The Avs sit atop the NHL, 21 points. And hey, everyone rightfully laughed at me when I said the Anaheim Ducks could be a playoff team. And look at that, sitting atop the Pacific Division after 13 games. Cutter Gauthier, 11 goals to start the season. Something tells me they probably won't stay sitting there, but what a fun start for them. But that's not where I was going. The Avs, 21 points.
This brain dump's already.
It's already off to a
really
horrible start.
Crazy.
Off to a crazy start. The Avs sit 8-1-5. The 5 overtime losses, of course, but has them 3 points clear of the next closest team in the Central Division. I just want to start here with the brain dump pod. Megan, 14 games in. What do you think of this Avs group?
I think it's a continuation of the hockey they were playing in the playoffs in that Dallas series, in that it's a high buy-in. It's very, what's the word? Like connected to the result. I think that even though there's 82 games in a season, sometimes there's an understanding that you're going to lose some games along the way. I think there has been a feeling of dissatisfaction anytime they haven't come away with 2 points. And it's because of how good this group is. Like their 5v5 play has been a strength of this team. I think getting the penalty kill to be driving consistent results the way that it has is a reflection of how solid they are. And so it's really just been a matter of waiting for this power play with some of the best players in the league on it to really get going. And it's not as if it hasn't gotten some results along the way and it hasn't had flashes of promise, because it has. It's just what it teases because of the elite talent on it. I think when you are 14 games in and that's the thing you're nitpicking, and it's not as if they're not scoring on the power play, you're in a pretty good place. It's a really solid group. And I think too, just how close they are, how much that they're, when you look at some of the things that are giving them success on the kill, blocking shots, selling out, sacrificing their bodies, laying it all on the line, I think that's a reflection too of how much they mean to each other, how much they're in this together. And I think that's going to carry them a long way this season.
I love the call out of, and it's honestly part of the reason why you and I were saying like, oh, let's just kind of do a smorgasbord of a podcast, because there's not a lot to nitpick here. There's not a lot to look, and again, there's going to be adjustments, things that you need to do better, focus more on. There's going to be all kinds of that over the course of the next 68 games. But right now, as we sit here, it's like, power play can be a little bit better. I loved who was that last week? 4 power play goals. It was the last game that I was at. And why is my mind going completely blank on who they were playing?
Like they scored 4 power play goals
in one game.
Was it Victor Olofsson?
It was the Victor Olofsson hat trick night.
Okay.
And why can't I remember who that was against?
Oh, no, that was the last game.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I loved the stat card that came out after that game showing where they were before that game, and they were, I think, 30th in the NHL. And then coming out of that game with the 4 power play goals, I think jumped all the way up to like 23rd.
New Jersey.
It was Jersey. Thank you.
One of the best teams in the East.
Yes. Thank you. It was, the night where.
So that is significant to call out.
Right. And thank you. I don't know why my mind was drawing completely blank on it being the Devils. But Megan, I think in a weird, funny way, not dissimilar to, so the start of last year, 0-4. And we were going into that locker room after 0-4, and it was just tense. Guys were tight. Guys didn't want to, it wasn't a whole lot to say. There wasn't a whole lot to ask. They won one game, and you went from 0-4 to 1-4, and just everything kind of felt better. And then they were able to kind of go from there. I think that was a little bit of what the New Jersey game did for the power play of like, okay, we're not 30th anymore. We're not in the single digit percentage area anymore. Now we can take a deep breath and really just, and I think you put it really, the question really well to Jared last week of like, numbers look very different suddenly, but it doesn't feel like a lot different was done. And I think that just having that game was maybe a like, okay, we had some bad luck going. We had some things we need to do better. We also just had some bad luck going. Puck went in. Now we can just focus on making the power play better.
I thought too, the call out that during that tough stretch, there was a period of games where they were only getting a single power play a night. And so they weren't getting those reps in to start to course correct and perfect it. And so that would start to hurt the confidence too. Like if they're not even getting the chance to work on the power play. And so I think that's significant too in measuring, especially from a percentage standpoint, some of the early results on the power play. And understandably too, it just made the lens that you evaluated it from so much more critical if your sample size is a single power play in a game. So I think you would key in on, they overpassed on this one power play that they got in the game and feel frustration. But I imagine just even going back to that Tampa game recently, their first power play, they had dangerous looks, but they did overpass. And then the next one, this is sort of a benefit of the Tampa PK, but they were forced to make even quicker decisions and it benefited them. They were operating more off of instinct. And so just that difference from one to the next in game, you saw the course correction that they were able to do. So it does make a difference then for them to kind of dip their toes in with the PK unit that they're up against by getting a couple power play chances. So when it's only one, that is really tough.
Well, then, so let's look at the other side. Penalty kill. You and I have talked about it now going back a couple of weeks of, yes, the power play, you wanted to see it get going more, it needs to be more consistent. Pick your word, right? Whatever you wanted to see it be more of. But we said they're kind of getting away with it because the penalty kill is so good and you're not coming out with this lopsided special teams battle every night. You're coming out even on the nights where you went, 1 for 8 against Carolina? Like you actually still came out tied in the special teams battle that night. And I just don't think you can undersell A, what a good penalty kill can do for you, and B, how good this penalty kill has been, Megan.
Yeah, I think about how with some of the personnel they have, the layer that's been added to what I felt was an already good kill that could just stand to get even better has unlocked new opportunities to become more dangerous. Talked a little bit with Jared Bednar about even the uptick in shorthanded chances, but I think it's bigger than just getting some of those shorthanded chances on net. Obviously, that's driving possession in the right direction on the kill and eating up some time that way. But I think about the danger it poses at the end of a kill when you can put some guys who've got legs on the ice or anticipate that guy coming out of the box as now just an added asset to you to continue to drive offense on the attack. And it's funny to talk about a penalty kill in that way, but I think they've just unlocked more opportunity for what they can do with it. In addition to just killing the penalty, it's a threat in its own right. And because of that, I think they can leverage momentum from a good penalty kill too. And so depending on the situation in a game, if they're killing a penalty early, that's obviously not ideal, right? I think that the discipline on the whole for this, 14 game in segment isn't really even bad for the Avs, but it's something of a strength if they do go on the kill early in a game, that it actually might swing things in their favor just because of the energy that it seems to give them.
You and I talked a couple weeks ago about, I brought up that I remember watching in their heyday, the Washington Capitals had Evgeny Kuznetsov as the high guy on that penalty kill. And I just remember everything that you just said. I remember watching that kill and go, wow, what a luxury to have a player like that who can kill penalties. I also think it's of note, second in the league, correct?
Yeah.
Currently. Everything you were just saying, no Kivi Ranta, no Shorty King, Logan O'Connor.
Yes.
So as much as a lot of what Logan O'Connor does generates those chances for himself, it's clearly something the Avs are doing that, again, and we're going to hear from Jared Bednar in a second, but like he alluded to, that's a little bit part of what we're doing.
Well,
trying to do.
Not something that Jared mentions a ton of, but is a huge piece in all of this, is winning D-zone draws on the kill. And so having face-off guys in Jack Drury and Brock Nelson who have perfected it down to an art form has allowed them to win pucks back quickly against that first power play unit that they're up opposite of. And that's what's driving a lot of these shorthanded chances too, is because they're immediately winning possession and then they're just keeping it the whole time.
Well, and look at who your defensemen are that are, we talked so much about Brent Burns, great penalty killer. Kel McCarr can kill penalties. Devon Taves kills penalties. Sam Malinsky's seen some PK reps. Something all those guys have in common. Great puck movers.
Yes.
And Josh Manson, not a slouch in that area at all.
That's Danson Manson.
That's Danson Manson. And so, you start sitting there and you're looking at the habits they're forming, the structure they're building, and the consistency they've got on that PK, and you go, God, you're going to get Logan O'Connor back into that mix. Like, it's just, and I want to go back to the D zone draws. It's one of those things for me. Like, it's kind of like, if your town has like shitty roads, it's easy to look at and go, they need to do something about these roads. They're terrible. But when the roads are great, nobody's like, oh man, these roads are so awesome. We need to get the local government some credit. It's like, no, it's supposed to work. That's what's supposed to happen. And I feel like the Avs have struggled in the dot so much in recent years that now suddenly between Brock Nelson, Jack Drury, Nate's face-off percentage is way up.
It is.
You don't even notice, but it makes such a huge difference. And it is maybe something that maybe you should celebrate the fact you don't have any potholes on the road coming in and out of your neighborhood and not just say that's how it's supposed to be. That's been an area that the Avs have struggled, and they are able to keep teams from being able to just immediately set up having a little bit better percentage in the face-off circle, particularly on the PK.
Yeah, I like the ownership too that all of them have taken in their craft. Like, you'll see Jack Drury out there lining up for the draw, calling out to his teammates where they should be and what they should be doing, because they're studying every detail of the power play that they're up against, that they're anticipating their habits too. And so it's not just winning the draw, it's how do you win that puck cleanly and drive play north afterwards, opposite a good power play unit. And I think that they've been really effective in keying in on that attention to detail. And it's been the D as well. It comes down to some pretty good reads in their own end to take away shot lanes. I think that Brent Burns is very good at doing this just positionally. It's not like he's throwing the body around, but he has a great stick, great reach, and great positional reads to take away some of those shooting passing lanes, such that, all right, they're probably going to create some kind of a chance in the D zone. But let's not make it that high danger chance that it could be. And maybe reduce them to a shot from the point. That's the best they're going to get. And I think that's a credit to the D, very specifically in what they are doing as well to manage some of those chances on the kill.
I know you guys talked a ton about him yesterday, so we don't have to park a bunch of this show for it, but I didn't want to talk about Brock Nelson because he is someone that is, one, I think a little bit different than what the Avs have had there in the past. And 2, he's a new face for that PK. Again, I don't want to relitigate a ton of what you guys talked about yesterday, but like, where are you at with Brock Nelson? He's someone that like I'm looking at, and as we've seen a little bit of the production start to come through a little bit, he's a guy I look at and I'm like, he's going to be fine. I think so much of what he's doing away from the puck is going really well. I think there's also even an element of he could stand out a little bit better luck when the puck is on his stick. But just since I wasn't here yesterday, what'd you think? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I go back to his morning skate interview from, I believe it was right before the Tampa game. He's his own harshest critic. So, especially with respect to the offensive contributions. And so I don't think it serves much good to sit here and look at his current projected point pace, which would be just shy of 30, and that's an anomaly. I don't think that's going to stay that way because he's a 50-point player easily, right? 30-goal scorer, 50-point player easily. And I'm hoping for something of a Colorado bump. But basically, his production through this point is so unusual that I'm not going to key in on that because he is doing so much good away from the puck that you don't just trip and fall into being that smart defensively. You have to be a highly engaged and committed player to be that good defensively. And there have already been offensive opportunities born from some of those good reads defensively, going back to the Vegas game, playing with Ross Colton. And I think you see it again in the Tampa game. And so I think the best is yet to come for Brock Nelson. I'm really happy with his contributions because, you know, what's funny is Val Nichushkin's numbers also maybe not quite where you'd expect them to be through this point. But when you look at the impact Val Nichushkin has had on the kill in addition to Brock Nelson, those are 2 really key players that help keep it successful. So I'm not going to be too hard on them, but it's because I know they have more to give too that I'm still waiting for that to happen. But I'm also very happy with what they've done through this point.
A healthy Val Nichushkin. I mean, I'm not going to get all the way back into the Val versus Mikko thing, but like the Val Nichushkin at 100% is an elite player in this league, is a top player in this league. And so even just having him healthy, it just makes such a huge difference in the lineup. Let's hear from Jared. And then go from there, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that he talks about, including an update on Sam Girard. So Avalanche head coach Jared Bednar.
Go ahead, guys, fire away.
Jared, Blackwood's finally starting to get some practice time. Obviously he's probably going to have to play this weekend.
Yeah.
Would you still prefer to play him on the second of a back-to-back?
Just depends on who I think is going to give us the best chance to win. Wedge has been playing real good. We haven't seen a lot of Blackwood, so we'll see.
How much confidence do you get just knowing that the way Wedgwood has started this season, the way he's been playing, when you have Blackwood up to speed, that these guys are solid right now?
Yeah, lots. Yeah, lots. I got confidence in both of those guys. We got to get them both to the peak of their game and try to maintain that as long as we possibly can.
What's the focus for the team going into Edmonton?
Yeah, I haven't looked at Edmonton yet, so I couldn't give you specific details on what the keys are. But we know they've been a top team in the West, right? So they got a lot of skill. So we're focusing on our game and what we need to do. We've gone through some good reviews here. Another good one this morning, based on the game against Tampa. We're just trying to carry over all those lessons and details into the next game.
Girard skating with you guys again today. Is he a possibility for this weekend?
He's not. He's not going to come on the trip. He's going to stay here and skate. Yeah.
How have some of the newish faces on the penalty kill in Jordan, Kelly, and Nelson helped to drive consistent results here at the start?
Well, they were good. Well, Nelson makes a big difference. I just feel like he's big, long, can skate. Another face-off guy for that left side. Jury and Kells, I kind of feel like they've been here forever now. But they're just doing a great job. I think it's a good rotation of guys. We want to try and roll 6 guys in that so they're fresh and they're one group of 2 or 4 goes out on the ice and does a nice job. The next group's trying to be even better. And there's a little bit of healthy competition in there. Details have been really good, I just think that it's a dialed in group early on in the season, and we just want to try and continue that. They're still nitpicking at some details and setting a high standard, and when we have breakdowns, and we've had a few, their goaltending has been good, or guys have been sacrificing and blocking shots. There's a lot of desperation in the PK unit right now, which I really like.
There's been maybe proportionately more shorthanded chances, I feel like, generated
Yeah.
on this kill. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's we're trying to not be too passive. I think Prater's done a really good job with that group of giving them certain keys and triggers where we can be real aggressive in D zone and try to force teams to play under pressure, and if we give up a big chance, it's okay, instead of just spending too much time in our zone defending and maybe giving up 3 or 4 not grade A's but still dangerous chances. So they're trying to find a balance with that. So I think when you're aggressive and when you're using your legs and when you're skating, you'll create some turnovers that can get you going the other direction, and it's been a point of emphasis for the group, and they've been doing a nice job. The other night we had 2 a breakaway and then another one right after it. So it's been pretty dangerous. I'd love to see that continue.
Are you gonna call up any other forwards or just take the ones you?
Yeah, possibly. For tomorrow. Yeah.
The way that it feels like the way that teams enter the zone on the power play has changed so much. From the time that you started as the coach here to now, it is all the different things. And how much of that is that a thing for Nolan or for you and Nolan, or just as almost, and then on the other side, just the cat and mouse game of it's almost like football. And there's all these different plays, and you guys are trying to figure out okay, here's what they're doing, and then now we're okay. How do we react to that? And it just feels like that's just been an ongoing. You guys find a thing that works, and then people stop that, so you do a different thing. And
yeah, I do think that it's always kind of been that way. Just a little bit of cat and mouse, especially on special teams. Good. It's what a good pre-scout does. It gives you a good indication on what they like to do, how often they do it. The analytics will support that. You can get them to look at specific things. So we try to use all those tools. I will say that power play breakouts, and they've always been creative, but I remember when I first started coaching, that's when they, in the American League, I was already coaching in the ECHL, but came to the American League and NHL, I can't remember which NHL team started using the drop. And then then we started using the drop, and how did we want to defend the drop? And then it was always a 3-2 drop. Now it's a 4-1 drop, and sometimes it's a double drop, and it's just trying to get teams. If you, even though it takes a split second more to create that breakout, if it gets you in on entry and gets you set up, it's a good way to back off the other team and get them standing still if you've got some good speed and skill. So, but it was a lot more get up and go north direct prior to that, but there was still a lot of creativity in some of those breakouts, and teams some teams still use a real simple breakout, and they're some of the most dangerous teams of attacking on the rush. So that's just sort of the penalty kill, trying to be aggressive. We've tried to work into our power play that we have a rush attack or 2 a game where we're actually trying to score on it, not just get set up, and that's been looking pretty good for us too, through the course of 14 games.
Building on that, you hear people talk about a copycat league. How much do you guys look at a team like Edmonton and look at stuff they do on their power play with McDavid and Draisaitl and say, we can replicate something like that, or do you not really use scouting?
Yeah, no, a lot. That's a difficult one because it's McDavid and Draisaitl. And there's perfect players like Bouchard, right-handed shot bomb from the point. I think Nugent Hopkins is one of the best middlemen in the league. We set up probably a little bit more similar to, say, Vegas, which is super dangerous. And we were talking about even today, you look at Vegas' start on the power play, it's all the same guys, Stone net front, right? And you look at the chances and goals they created early in the year, I think it jumped out to being number 1 for a long time. Stone gets hurt. they make a quick adjustment, put Marner at the net, and no knock against Marner. It's just like Stone is elite where he is, and their power play is not even 1/3 as dangerous as it was when Stone was there. And that's how much like one guy or one elite player just in that certain aspect of the game can change things, you know? So it's trying to find, you know, experimenting a little bit, some things that are conventional, unconventional, moving some guys around. You have to be willing to do that if you want to look for like superior results. If you're happy the way things are going, you can stay the way it is. You know, so we want to kind of be flexible, but not tinker with it too much where the point where it's disruptive and causes havoc within our team, you know.
All right. So there you go. Always love a nice practice day availability with Jared. He's just so insightful. And he just loves to talk hockey.
Yeah.
You can tell there's times I've talked about before where like we'll lob something at him. You can tell he doesn't want to answer it. But he just can't help himself. He's just too much of a hockey nerd like the rest of us.
It's true, because I wasn't sure what to expect with them traveling right after practice. I always feel nervous that they're going to be in a bit of a hurry, and I don't want to ask really specific questions on days like this. But he was ready for it. He was very patient, very thoughtful as always.
I love practice travel days because he always comes in there dressed to the nines, like not just coming straight off the ice. He always looks really nice. Megan, just a couple quick kind of housekeeping things based on what he talked about there. No Sam Girard, no Logan O'Connor this weekend. They are both staying in Denver to get in some additional skills coach work. Sam Girard has taken a few practices in a row with the team, so he feels closer than OC to me, but neither of them will play this weekend. Gavin Brindley is expected to make the trip, full participant in practice today, regular jersey, all that good stuff.
I imagine they'll still be keeping an eye on it too, because Jared Bednar said they would potentially call up a forward just to have on the trip tomorrow. So I'll be keeping an eye on that to see, but I hope it's all full send for Gavin Brindley. And I hope he's feeling perfectly fine and no symptoms, and he's learned a lesson.
Keep
his head up.
Yes. That's a kid that has the potential to be a really nice player for the Abs down the stretch.
I'm so excited for the Kyler Yamamoto resurgence too. He's being leaned on very heavily this year. And I don't think they're actually that similar of players, but I look at the interesting career arc that he's had with Utah. He's had trouble kind of sticking in the league full-time later points. And that's where I wonder with Gavin Brindley, it's important for him to focus on longevity. So keeping his head up will be very important, because I think that he can be a full-time guy long into his career. He just needs to make sure that he's doing what he can to protect himself as an undersized player.
All right, I'm going to take a hard right turn here. Jordan Kyrou was healthy scratch last night. Production isn't terrible. It's 4-4. Do you have any thoughts? Again, I'm not super dialed into what the intricacies are of what the St. Louis Blues are doing every day.
Yeah.
But your boy
Monty,
Jim Montgomery, and hey, they get a win against Buffalo last night without Jordan Kyrou. But just as a quick left turn moment, do you have a thought on Jordan Kyrou getting health bombed by Monty?
On the heels of Matt Barzal getting scratched from the alarm trouble, punctuality is important, culture setting is important. I remember back at DU, the Shore brothers, right? Quentin Shore was playing at the time, and he was scratched one game, and the reasoning was for not doing the right thing. And Quentin Shore was a nice guy, nice kid. So I don't think it was anything sinister that he was doing away from the rink, just based on what I knew of the situation. But I do think it would have been akin to an alarm, a missed meeting, that kind of thing. And so Monty wasn't shy about sending a message for small disciplinary infractions. I think it's actually fully in line with what he's done as a coach before. But obviously at this level, with such an important player in Kyrou, it's an even louder message. But I think it's not so unusual, not just for Monty, but even seeing what happened with Barzal, that I imagine he's trying to set culture because St. Louis has not been off to a very good start.
Let me read this quote, and then you can keep going. This is from Jim Montgomery following the win against Buffalo last night. Quote, "There were several people we weren't happy with the effort. It didn't matter the role. There was a lot of guys that didn't play up to their role or responsibilities on the team, and the players we ended up going with, we thought gave us the best opportunity to win." That sounds like culture setting to me.
Yeah, and I think this is a team that had the big rally when Monty came on board last year and didn't sustain it to start this year. And so it's an important, crucial point in the season for that to get back to where it was. That level of excitement, that engagement, commitment needs to be where it was when Monty first joined. And I think the results have reflected a lack of full 100% effort. So that all makes perfect sense to me. It's such a Monty thing to do.
5-8-2, just 12 points, 2-6-2 in their last 10. That includes the win last night against Buffalo. Not the start the St. Louis Blues had in mind, especially given the way that last year ended. But I remember you and I talking about it, like, with all due respect, especially Jim Montgomery, like, that team got there because of what he was able to do with them. Like, that was not a roster that should have been in the playoff conversation. So
yeah, it's the difference of, like the paddles, right? Like to resuscitate somebody. Now they need to actually get to full health. Though.
Yeah,
you can't continue to paddle shock
it's like
the team.
Their heart is beating.
Yes.
Take those paddles off.
Right. Like now let's eat an apple a day and I don't know, cut out
exercise.
carbs.
Yeah. Hey,
health.
Yeah. Start Atkins. Are we still doing Atkins?
I don't think we should recommend that.
No, I don't know. Megan, a lot of, and I'm just looking at this right here. This was not my intention of talking. A lot of teams out west. There's only, I guess, okay, the central teams, that helps make it a little bit better. So there's a lot of negative goal differential in the Western Conference right now. Like this is, and I'm finding even just like, and like, keep in mind we're 13, 14 games into this season. However, we are 3 weeks exactly, 20 days, I guess, from American Thanksgiving, which has long been the unofficial cutoff for if you're not in a playoff spot on American Thanksgiving, the odds are very much not in your favor. Elliot Friedman has done further digging and has found a really strong correlation between November 1st and teams that currently sit 4 points outside of the playoffs. Your odds of making it go way down. Everybody's kind of in it. The entire Eastern Conference, the Buffalo Sabres are in last place with 14 points. The second wildcard team is the Philadelphia Flyers with 17. You're a game and a half off. You know what I mean? And West, Calgary is kind of bringing that average down a bit. But I just find that interesting that, like I said, there just seems like there's a lot more teams that are all kind of clumped together than maybe what we've seen in recent years.
Well, and it feels like it's usually in the East in the past. And
yes,
it's what we talk about with it getting so competitive at the top of the division. And then it's because there's not enough competition throughout the West. But I think there's more now than before with Anaheim, Utah, like just out West generally having stronger starts to their season. So I'm excited by that.
No, totally. And then, you got teams like Pittsburgh, who's off to a really good start out East. Boston, I think, is surprising some people out East.
They had a bad start.
They did.
They needed some culture setting.
Need that Casey Middlestat Colorado experience. Megan, what else do you want to make sure we get into here on this? Is there any particular topics? I know we had both said that, maybe all jokes aside, talking a little bit about Parker Kelly here and his role and all that stuff. Something we want to get into. Is there anything that we haven't gotten to yet we want to make sure we hit on?
Well, I think it can be a bigger topic for a different show, but the back end, generally, the difference of Brent Burns and then keying in on Sam Malinski's strong start and what it means for the Avs. So because that might be something we want to spend more time on, we can just wait.
Mhm.
We can just wait, and we can talk about Parker Kelly for the rest of the show.
Well, I was, just to dangle it out there a little bit, I was on Oilers Nation, Oilers Everyday podcast this morning, Tyler Yarmachuk. And they were asking about Devon Taves. And like, hey, this is a guy. And it was funny because they were asking it through the lens of like, what should the Oilers be expecting this weekend? But also, he's going to be our guy here come February. So what should Canadian fans be expecting? Which I just thought that was funny and made me really excited for the Olympics. But one of the things I said was, I think Devon Taves has done a lot of what he normally does for the Avs. The production isn't quite there. And I think the simplest reason is you don't need it to be. Brent Burns has looked really good. He's quarterbacking that second power play. And Sam Alinsky really looks comfortable at the start of this season, especially versus last year. And then you and I were talking about right before we got started on the show of just like, yeah, there's real depth there on that back end. And it has, you can already see it through 14 games, alleviated pressure on guys like Cale Makar, Devon Taves.
Yeah, I think the distribution of minutes, Brent Burns does play a huge role on the penalty kill, second to what Taves and Makar are doing there, but he's trusted, and so he can eat up big minutes there. In the past, we've seen other D kind of get spot shifted in there. Like Manson and Girard together have earned a lot of trust, but without Girard, I think that's why we're seeing Sam Alinsky get some reps on the kill. But I just wanted to shout out very specifically how Brent Burns eating up big minutes on the kill has alleviated some of the minutes off of everyone. And then what he adds 5v5 is a shooting instinct that I think has led by example in setting the tone that has been maybe even a fun way of inviting everyone else on the back end to just shoot first. And so I think that confidence to shoot is seen in players like Manson, Malinsky, and I think that's adding to the overall production then that you're getting from your D core. That, to your point, it has alleviated some of the need for Taves Makar to be the guys offensively contributing, because Brent Burns has sort of opened up this possibility of it could be any of us on any given shift. If we trust each other, that, we've got the support we need. We've got our D partner ready to draw back if needed, so that this isn't too much of a high wire act, right? Like if you do want to activate deeper in the zone, you've got the support you need coming back. And there's trust, there's communication, because I think that Brent Burns' experience offers that. He's not as much of a liability as some of maybe young players in this league trying to do this. And so I think the way the pairings have been set too, like credit to Josh Manson playing on his offside for the first time in his career. I think that's why it works though, Manson and Burns as a pairing, is because of Burns' experience, that there's a little bit of room for error because there is so much more trust built between a lot of these guys playing together. And I think it's up their confidence. Like I think back to a version of Shillington that existed next to Tanev, and that version of Shillington succeeded because of the responsibility of Tanev. And so I think we're seeing kind of a similar version of this play out with the way the D pairs are constructed. I think that's why we're getting the best results out of Malinsky. I think that's why that top four on the back end is succeeding. And so Devon Taves is still doing tons of Devon Taves things defensively, including the way in which he supports Makar on the breakout. And so I'm really happy with his play so far. And I think that the offensive numbers, like Brock Nelson, right? I think those will go up and stabilize to what we've seen more previously over the course of the year. But right now, I think we're just seeing the Brent Burns effect across the whole lineup.
No, I completely agree with you. And I also think R.E., Brock Nelson, Devon Taves, it takes is one really good week production wise, and you're suddenly right back on pace for what everyone kind of expects. We saw that with Victor Olofsson, right? It was like nothing. He had a huge week, 10 days, and suddenly it's like, yeah, that's right where you want him to be production wise. So it doesn't take, long for these guys to catch up. It just takes a week of getting hot, and hey, it's a long season. Logan O'Connor, Jack Drury, Parker Kelly. Arguably the best fourth line in the NHL last year. Jared Bednar has said that he wants to see that line back together at some point this year because it reminded him a lot of O'Connor, Helm, Cogliano. Parker Kelly has kind of found himself in this weird situation. Signs a multi-year extension with the Avs this summer. And I think a lot of the expectation when that happened was, all right, well, the Avs just locked up that stellar fourth line. He's going to be, playing with Logan O'Connor and Jack Drury, and they're going to be set. They just solidified that with getting Parker Kelly locked down. Well, OC hasn't played yet, and Jack Drury has been elevated to the third line to center that line there. So you kind of ended up with Parker Kelly now being the guy that's playing with a rotating cast of players, including AHL call-ups, Tristan Nielsen, Taylor McCarr. Not a slight at those guys, but when you're the NHL guy that's playing with those guys, there's extra responsibility on you to make sure that you're communicating, guys know where they're going, and you can support. He signed, like I said, the multi-year extension this summer. I think we all looked at it and said it made so much sense. And I do think the Avs will eventually get that line of Drury, Kelly, O'Connor back together. But I guess just where are you at with Parker Kelly to start this season? I think despite everything I've just said, looked pretty good. Despite everything I just said about rotating cast.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Because, you've got two rookies in Bardakov and Brindley. And I look at that New Jersey game against, again, one of the best teams in the East. And that line was so effective against a very good team. I think in part that's the secret weapon of whatever line Parker Kelly is on, is that they could be underestimated. And because he's got a little bit of speed, like Logan O'Connor, that can be a threat up ice that maybe people aren't expecting and can catch him off guard. He's got that grit in being relentless on the forecheck that he's never going to let up on you. And so that's going to be a constant threat of turning the puck over anytime that he's on the ice. And what I like about Parker Kelly, a lot of things. First and foremost, what he brings to the penalty kill. He's very dedicated to his craft too. So much of what makes a kill successful is successful reads. And he is very dedicated and very critical and reflective of when his stick wasn't facing the right way. And it doesn't even result necessarily in a goal against. He's just very aware of that. And so the Ask Avs did a segment on what advice they'd give to young players to focus on earlier in their careers. And almost everybody said, focus on your skating. If you can be a dynamic skater, that's going to solve a lot for you. And Parker Kelly's answer was to focus on being a good teammate. Aww. And I thought that was such a great reflection of why Parker Kelly makes so much sense in Colorado. He is the ultimate teammate. And so you never have to worry about commitment, engagement. He's going to give 100% every time. And I think that's what has made him so versatile, which I know we've joked about what that means, right? It's like saying, and he's a great personality. But to be versatile is to play with rookies in the league and still have effective games. And to be versatile is to be excellent on the kill when called upon, especially knowing that sometimes it changes the momentum of a game. And Parker Kelly does all of those things.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was that we were talking about today, but we were talking about exactly this and the versatility thing. And, I always, because I think he's the ultimate example of it, is Logan O'Connor. And that's a guy that I look at. And when I say, he's versatile, I look at that for a hockey player of they've got a role that they do really well, but they are competent enough to fill other roles as needed.
Right.
Is Logan O'Connor a top 6 player? No, probably not. Can he give you 2 to 3 games where he's effective playing on the wing in the top 6 because he got injuries? Yeah, absolutely. Is Parker Kelly, again, just a top 6 player? No, probably not. But he's a hell of a penalty killer. He's relentless on the forecheck. He's a great teammate, dedicated in his own end, willing to block shots, willing to do what it takes. And hey, if you get him in the slot with a second and a half to look, he's got enough skill to finish a play, capitalize on a breakaway, et cetera, et cetera. So when I hear versatile, that's what I think of, as a player who's got a role that they're good at, usually in the bottom part of the lineup. But if they're versatile enough, they can fill in some other spots in spot duty. And I don't think you can understate how important it is to have a couple of players that can do that. And And I think the Avs have found another one in Parker Kelly. And I think it's also what has made that line of Jack Drury, Parker Kelly, Logan O'Connor so dangerous is they're all a little bit like that.
Yeah, and so I think what will be fun is I am excited to see how I better separate Logan O'Connor and Parker Kelly from one another, because they both do bring a lot of the same things, but I think they both bring enough different that I wouldn't want to part with either one. Not that that's even in question. It's just I think they both serve a very important role in their utility that you need both. And it's why they're both so effective together too, because I do think at different times, different things are needed of them, and they're very good at reading that.
Comment here on the board. Let's say you reunite LOC, Kelly, Drury. What do you do with Landy, Olofsson? Have Bardakov become 3C, or are those two now fourth line wingers? No. And I think this goes back to what you and I have been talking about for months now, Megan. The one area of this team, at least offensively, assuming health, that you are probably still looking at today saying they could use an upgrade there. Or an upgrade there wouldn't be the worst thing ever. It's 3C. And that's not an indictment on Jack Drury. I think he's been good. I think he's filled that role totally admirably. But I think that's the unit that you want, is the best fourth line in the league. That's how the Avs won in 22 was teams just could not roll four lines the way that the Avs could. The Edmonton Oilers, a really talented team in that Western Conference final. They didn't have the bench that the Avs had. So I still continue to look at this and say, if you're really reuniting that line, Kelly, Drury, OC, it's because you've added someone to go right in that spot that comment was talking about, to play in between, whether it be Landy and Olofsson, Colton, Olofsson, whatever. I think you're only doing that if you've made an upgrade.
Yeah, because I think if this was preseason projections, we could have entertained Bardakov as a winger on a third line, but we've had a taste of caviar in Olofsson and Landeskog there, Ross Colton there. So I don't think that makes any sense. One, I don't think he is acclimated enough to be a third line center at this level. Like, I don't think he's fully even locked in the 4C role, right? Like, I think it has been placeholder to Jack Drury, who they eventually want to have there. And that's tough because I don't think Bardakov's done anything wrong through this point. I think he's just a bit green. For what I'm specifically looking at is playoff hockey. So regular season hockey, some of this mixing is totally fine, but we're talking, right, a fourth line in the playoffs. And that's kind of the intention behind reuniting it. And so I'm just affirming what you're saying, that I don't think you can live with Bardakov as a third line player, because we still haven't factored in Joel Kiviranta in this conversation, who's far more trusted. And then that's where it's tricky with Brindley too, is honestly, I could see Brindley serving kind of like a new hook role in a playoff run. He offers something a little bit different from the others that you still want to have represented when you need it, right? Like, you want to be able to push that button and have it represented. But I'm not sure what the full-time fit would be. And so for the rest of the regular season, I'd still be entertaining some Eagles games. And not because he is not a full-time NHLer. It's just, to be a full-time NHLer in Colorado is a bit of a different story. And so I think getting in as many NHL games, because he's earned them, is important for Brindley. But I'm not sure what like the long-term fit is through the regular season.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Let's end it with this comment. Megan and Jesse, please talk about Sammy G. Is he as bad as everyone seems to feel he is? Or is all the hate because fans feel his AAV is too high? So I have two comments on this right off the top. One, I genuinely, Megan, I don't understand like the visceral Sam Girard hate.
I don't either.
Like, does he have games where he struggles? Yeah, for sure. Every player does. I do not understand what it is that Avs fans really don't like about Sam Girard, because he is a no questions asked top four defenseman in the NHL. No questions asked. I've said it for years. There's half the teams in this league that would take Sam Girard and drop him immediately on their top pairing. he's an elite skater that gets overshadowed because he's on a team with 2 other elite skaters. He's so smooth. He is a bona fide set and forget. You don't even have to think twice. Top 4 defenseman. And he makes $5 million a year.
I don't think that, the AAV is too high.
It's not. It's a great bargain.
I think people who are quick to want to move him might pretend that that's the problem, but it really isn't. It's a great value for a second pair defenseman. And that's what he is. That's the thing that I think people would maybe try to diminish and minimize about Girard, is that maybe he's not, but he truly is. Especially, it's not just what he does as a second pair defenseman 5v5. I think the reps he's put in on the kill, the trust he's earned playing alongside Manson is important too. And I'm glad that the kill has continued to thrive in his absence, but it doesn't mean that he didn't add something when he was a regular there. So it's hard for me because right now, the way the decor is constructed is just a little bit odd. He might just be kind of the odd man out. But the same could be said of Sam Malinsky too in ways. And I would not like to see either shipped out for nothing. Especially because right now they might have an abundance of righties, but they're a season away from not having Brent Burns. So that's where it gets tricky with Girard, because they've been able to get some great reps from Manson on his offside, but it's not been without incident either. Like, do you trust that in the playoffs? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know that you do. It's just funky construction on that back end that I think people are just trying to problem solve. But I hate that Girard gets scapegoated, because it's, in my opinion, not because he's done anything wrong.
Well, and I think there's a comment there that says some hockey fans feel that a D-man cannot be 5'8" and nothing will change their mind. I think that's part of it too. He's an undersized guy, and he's one of those guys where it's like, yeah, is he going to muscle Leon Draisaitl out from in front of the net? Probably not. Probably not. But that's typically not what you're asking Sam Girard to do. And then the argument that, and I just saw it come through, of like, oh, you can't have a defenseman like that and win a Stanley Cup. And everyone always says the Abs won because Sam Girard wasn't playing. And that's just like the easiest take to have, because there's no way to dispute it. There's no way to prove otherwise. You can't go back and redo it with Sam Girard instead of Jack Johnson. That suggests that Jack Johnson was a better, more effective defenseman than Sam Girard. And hey, Jack Johnson was good for them on that run. But like, what are we doing here?
Well, and this is where I think it becomes like our idea of what a bottom pair should be in this case. Because right now what Solovyov is makes so much sense for the bottom pair. He's the bigger guy. But I would maybe venture to say that his largeness, his physicality has marginally added, versus what I think Sam Girard can add would be more significant, even being undersized. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky to measure. It's hard to measure the impact of physicality in positives outside of, hits, blocks, because players like Malinsky, for example, have been hitting and blocking more than ever before. I'm not sure people are giving him credit for that, though, because he's undersized.
Right.
And so same goes for Girard. Like, nothing against Solovyov in this equation. I'm just not sure that the size difference is making as big of an impact. It's just easy to look in hindsight at the Dallas series and say that's what was missing, because there weren't a ton of bigger body guys represented outside of Manson. So I think it's easy to point to that, but I don't know that it's as nuanced a criticism as it could be.
Yeah. Well, and again, I find the size stuff always to be such an interesting conversation, because it's like, okay, so because you always hear like, oh, 6 foot, oh, they're so small, you can't. It's like, okay, well, what about 5'10"? Sidney Crosby's 5'10", Nathan McKinnon's 5'10", 5'11", Cale Makar 5'10", 5'11". Like, at what point are you just arbitrarily saying, no, that's the cutoff to say that he's too small? If the Abs were trying to say Sam Girard is our number one defenseman, we put him out there in shutdown situations, he kills, then yeah, I think maybe you could make an argument that like you maybe need a guy that's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. They're asking Sam Girard to play a role on the back end, and he does it extremely well when he's healthy. And I saw Vaguely Sober, point out that, like, he said, my only issue with him in the chat, he said, my only issue with him is his availability. Fair criticism.
Yeah.
Sam Girard gets hurt a lot. But I just think it's a made up scenario that people live in, that when Sam Girard's healthy and in the lineup, that he's this huge liability. I just think that that's an alternate reality. That's just not true. And the Avs are better when you have him in the lineup.
I will say size and lack thereof is only as good or as bad as how that individual player uses it.
Yep.
And so I do think there's a difference in Brent Burns on the back end because of his size, but not because of physicality. I think that his size takes away shooting passing lanes, and his stick, its long reach, does that as well effectively. But I also think that undersized players who have a high IQ and are dynamic skaters can also take away shooting passing lanes through their skating. And so again, it's kind of the skill of the player and the intelligence of the player too that factors into that. And so that's where Girard, he's a smart player and
Really
he's
smart.
a great skater. And so that's where he's adding that differently, Slovyov, a bit green, not always making the right reads positionally, but has that size. To me, that isn't like a positive over a Girard. And I'm just putting them side by side because those are kind of the odd men out in this equation right now. I know I suggested Malinsky earlier, but I think he's done enough to solidify the need to not only keep him as a part of this year's roster, but to build a future around him too. I think his fit makes so much sense, but I'll stop there.
No. I mean, because I was going to go to the, just with the examples that you were kind of rattling off there, okay, so they had Curtis McDermott playing defense the last few years.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
Right. And he was huge out there, no doubt. That did not make him a better defenseman, an inherently better defenseman than guys who were undersized. And so, yeah, I think that's a great call out of, there's so much nuance when you're talking about the size of a player and how they use it. And again, as a guy who's watched Sam Girard, I was the first Colorado media to interview Sam Girard when we arrived in Sweden. I was there for his very first practice with the Avs, and I remember going, whoa, this kid can skate. I'm sorry. People just will not convince me he's not a highly effective, bona fide top 4 defenseman.
And finally, I do think, though, the emergence of Malinsky's play perhaps
Megan,
has reinforced why Sam Girard would be expendable, because what Malinsky brings could be comparable to what Girard brings. Both very good skaters, and I think that the confidence of Malinsky building to be more involved offensively is what has been left wanting out of Girard. Like, I think that you see the offensive impact potential, but it doesn't always translate in execution. I think that's what Malinsky's working really hard on right now. In talking with Corey Masisak, he had a strong camp. Malinsky did last year, but his play stagnated. I think that he's really reflected on what it was about his game that maybe caused the results to be more neutral impact. And he's trying to build then sustainable offense. And I think that's been another question mark around Girard, in part because of availability. But if Malinsky continues on this track, it could render then what Girard brought a little less necessary.
I completely agree with that. And I think that's a great call out of, like, I'm not here to suggest that Sam Girard is untouchable or that, he's this player you have to have. If you feel that you've got someone that can replace, replicate, or even do better at what you have Sam Girard doing, then yeah, explore that as an opportunity. But like, I saw a suggestion of, like, do you think Sam Girard could net a 3C? And that's just the stuff where I'm like, whoa, people undersell the value of Sam Girard.
Yes.
Like,
he could.
If the Avs flipped Sam Girard for just a 3C 1-for-1, that would be terrible asset management, because he's worth way more than a 3C.
Yeah, they shouldn't undervalue what Girard is. So that's why it's not easily replaceable. I just maybe wouldn't use the word irreplaceable either. And it's because of how the back end is constructed. He is a 2-pair guy on a different team, easily potentially being flexed as a top pair guy on some teams.
Like, put him in San Jose, put him in Chicago.
And he's he's a lefty, which like right now is underrepresented on the Avs. So that's the
Yeah.
other reason, like maybe they're not shipping him out so quickly.
Right. But yeah, I just look at some of those teams that are near the, in the bottom half, bottom third, and say, yeah, there's a lot of those teams that would take Sam Girard in a heartbeat to help them be more effective getting up and out of their zone. Anything else?
No.
That's going to do it. That's going to do it for today. Megan will be up in Loveland tonight, tomorrow. So make sure you guys are catching all of that great content coming from the Colorado Eagles Abbotsford Canucks series this weekend. Then we will, of course, have Abs in Edmonton and Vancouver for you tomorrow. That's going to do it. She's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. I think we got John, we got Ashley, we got DC back there. We got a whole crew back there producing all this for us today. Guerilla Sports Off Ice. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back at it on Monday with another pod. We'll talk to you then. See ya.